These aren't just good running backs. These are the running backs who are going to blow the roof off the 2025 fantasy season. We're talking league winners, season changers, the players that will put fear in your opponent's heart. Today, I'm breaking down 5 running backs about to go nuclear in 2025. Starting with Christian McCaffrey. Now, I was talking up Christian McCaffrey all offseason saying that there's no way this guy should be going in the middle of the second round. I know there's injury risk, but there's also league-winning upside here. What happened? Eventually, his ADP went up, and now he's kind of like a solid first-rounder, and I just sort of stopped talking about him, not because I got lower on Christian McCaffrey, just because it was like, okay, everybody's caught on. There's no need to talk about Christian McCaffrey. But if we're going to talk about running backs that are going to go nuclear this year, I got to talk about Christian McCaffrey. In the 4 years, excluding his rookie year where he's played at least 16 games, he's finished as the RB2, the RB1, the RB2, and the RB1 again. And all reports this year is that he looks fully healthy. We haven't heard anything about nagging injuries, tendonitis, knee soreness, nothing. This guy is good to go. In fact, Kyle Shanahan recently said he's doing awesome. He's as fast as he's been. He's quick. He's strong. He's Christian McCaffrey. And if you don't believe Kyle Shanahan, what about quarterback Brock Purdy? He recently said mentally he's on one. Like he's ready to get after it with the season. And obviously from beginning to end. Like play a whole season and go hard. And that's who he is. And even last year when you look at it, when he came back from that injury, he actually was back to his old self. In the 3 games prior to that Buffalo game where he suffered the PCL injury, he had played 88, 93, and 81% of the snaps. He had 43 carries and 16 targets over those 3 games. He had 6 red zone carries in those 3 games, and he went over 100 yards in 2 of them. And look, the PCL injury in Buffalo was a fluke injury. It was a frozen field. He landed on the knee in just the right way for the PCL injury. The exact same injury Puka Nacua had in week 1 last year that had nothing to do with his Achilles either. And plot twist here, Christian McCaffrey is actually the only healthy 49ers running back right now. Isaac Guerendo currently dealing with a shoulder injury. Rookie Jordan James has a broken finger. And in that preseason game, Patrick Taylor and Corey Kiner both got hurt. Patrick Taylor now on season-ending IR, and Corey Kiner was waived with an injury designation. Now, I know they did go out and trade for Brian Robinson Jr., but don't kid yourself here. Brian Robinson Jr. is just cheap depth for a backfield that desperately needed depth because they were looking at starting the season with just Christian McCaffrey and Jeff Wilson as the only healthy running backs on the roster. Christian McCaffrey is going to be the unquestioned workhorse, getting over 80% of the snaps, catching a ton of passes, racking up yards, scoring touchdowns in this offense. This guy legit has the potential to be the highest scoring player in all of fantasy. He just needs to stay healthy. Now, I already know. Anytime I talk about Christian McCaffrey, I know what's coming. People are going to drop comments down below. It's too risky. Injury history. I can't do it. And look, that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. It's your fantasy team. You draft the way you want to draft. If Christian McCaffrey's too risky for you, totally understandable. But I really feel like Christian McCaffrey is going to be motivated this year. He's going to stay healthy. He's going to play hard. He's got one more elite year in him. And the drafters who draft him this year are going to get to experience it while everyone else kicks themselves and say, man, should have drafted Christian McCaffrey this year. Now, we've been Chase Brown truthers ever since he was drafted. Unfortunately, when he was drafted, he was stuck behind Joe Mixon, and then we thought, okay, well, Joe Mixon's gone. Maybe this will be his chance, and then they went out and signed Zach Moss, and it was in a timeshare with Zach Moss last year, but finally, after Zach Moss got hurt, and I'm not trying to make light of somebody getting hurt, but we got to see Chase Brown's potential as the workhorse running back, and I would say he lived up to expectations. Last year, from week 9 on, with Zach Moss hurt, he was the running back 4 in points per game, averaging 20.6. And remember, that includes the Week 17 game where he injured his ankle trying not to score to secure the win for the team. Had he scored that touchdown, he would have been the highest scoring running back over that stretch. And now he enters 2025 as the clear lead back. Zach Moss already cut. Don't even talk to me about Samaje Perine. I like Taj Brooks, the rookie, but come on. Taj Brooks, the rookie, he's no threat here. He's just like break glass in case of an injury here. And when you look at it from week 9 on, without Zach Moss last year, he was on pace for over 380 touches, over 1,800 scrimmage yards, and he had the second most running back targets behind only Devon Achane. And he's not just some little scat back here who can't handle it. He's at 209 pounds and has a 30 BMI. And if that's not enough for you, what about his offensive coordinator who's been talking this guy up so much? Said he's going to be a household name, top 10 running back this year, comparing him to Austin Eckler. And in case you forgot, he's talking about Austin Eckler with the Chargers, not the Commanders version. Austin Eckler had back-to-back years where he was the RB1 and the RB2 for fantasy. Brown legit has the potential to be a top 5 running back this year if he stays healthy. And sure, you can no longer get him in round 3. I mean, for most of the offseason, I'm like, what are we doing here? This guy should be going a round higher. Well, now he's going a round higher. But you know what? I don't care. I'm still drafting him in round 2. This guy just has too much upside not to take in your fantasy drafts. Even in round 2, I think it's worth it for a guy who can absolutely go nuclear in 2025, put up a top 5 running back season, and carry you to another fantasy championship this year. Do you want to win your fantasy league but don't have time to do all the research? Are you tired of drafting mediocre teams and then having to constantly hope you hit it big on the waiver wire just to compete? Do you wish you could have a fantasy expert like Pierre or myself with you while you draft? Well, now you can. With our app Draft Lane and our live draft pilot, we will guide you through every pick of your draft and tell you exactly which players we would pick if we were on the clock. Our proprietary algorithm will take into account your league settings, scoring, and roster requirements to identify the best picks every time you are on the clock to ensure you have a winning team from week 1. It's the closest thing you can get to having us there drafting with you. Get the biggest edge in fantasy football. Just go to your app store and search for Draft Lane and download it today and get ready to dominate your draft. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit here and do 2 running backs, but they're teammates, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Because honestly, whoever the RB1 is going to be in the Seattle offense is going to go nuclear this year. I still believe Kenneth Walker is going to be the RB1. If he's healthy, he's going to be the guy, and I think you absolutely have to try to draft Kenneth Walker. But I also think you need to try to draft Zach Charbonnet if you can. And honestly, shouldn't be too hard because in drafts, these guys go about 60 picks apart. But if you can't get both of them, you gotta at least get one. Because as I've been saying, Klint Kubiak is a running back guru. This guy is gold for fantasy running backs. Since 2021, his RB1 has averaged more fantasy points per play than every running back not named Christian McCaffrey. Now again, I'm going to say Walker is the guy you want because if Walker is healthy, he's the guy. He's going to be the starter. He's going to get the bulk of the touches. But Walker has yet to play more than 15 games in a season, which means there's a chance we see Charbonnet as the workhorse running back at some point. And if Charbonnet is a workhorse running back, he's going to be a must start every single week. And look at what they've done in the preseason so far. In week 1, 170 total rushing yards. Last week against the Chiefs, 268 total rushing yards. Mike McDonald brought Klint Kubiak in for one specific reason: to make the run game better and make this a more run-heavy offense. You want whoever the RB1 is in this offense. It would not shock me one bit if the Seahawks lead the NFL in rushing yards this year. They want to run the football. They're going to run the football. And with Klint Kubiak, they're going to be extremely good at running the football. So sure, Kenneth Walker, if he plays all 17 games, he's going nuclear. No doubt about it. Going to go nuclear. Going to win your league. Going to be one of the best picks in fantasy. But if he misses time again, you know who else is going nuclear? Zach Charbonnet. Yes, so get both of these guys if you can. But if you can't, make sure you get at least one of them. Because for whatever weeks either of these guys are on the field as the RB1, they are absolutely going nuclear this year. Now, in the first preseason game, everybody saw the highlight of TreVeyon Henderson going for that 100-yard kickoff return touchdown, and, that has bolted him up. But what I really liked in that first preseason game was he caught all 3 of his targets in that game, because that tells me he's for sure going to be the pass-catching back in this offense. But also, this guy has home run potential. He has a potential to turn any play into a house call. We saw that with the kick return touchdown. And last week in the preseason game, he played 61% of the snaps with the starters, turned 4 touches into 20 yards and a touchdown. Now, Rhamondre Stevenson didn't play, and I do think Rhamondre Stevenson is still the starter here. I don't think TreVeyon Henderson has taken over this job already or going to take it over in week 1. He might not even take it over by week 5, week 6, by week 7, but kind of like Bucky Irving last year, this is a guy who can take over down the stretch in the second half and help you win your fantasy championship. Every year we see rookie running backs come on in the second half of fantasy, carry teams to championship. I think it's going to be TreVeyon Henderson this year. And I know a lot of people have brought up the whole Josh McDaniels, he doesn't use one running back thing, and you're right, he doesn't. But look, he doesn't have to be the workhorse running back here. He doesn't have to be a guy getting 20 to 25 touches. Even if Rhamondre Stevenson is still out there getting carries, if TreVeyon Henderson at one point is the 1A to Rhamondre Stevenson's 1B, similar to how Bucky Irving was with Rashad Wright last year, he's going to be good enough and he's going to go nuclear. And let's not forget about the elephant in the room here with Rhamondre Stevenson, fumbles. This guy had 7 fumbles last year. This guy has had fumbles every year of his career. This is the thing that will lose you trust with your coaches faster than anything. Fumbling the football. Maybe second would be like not being able to pick up the blitz and getting your quarterback killed, but fumbling probably still number 1. That is not going to be an issue for Henderson. It could very well be an issue for Rhamondre Stevenson. Speaking of pass protection, TreVeyon Henderson is great pass blocker. He's already one of the best pass blockers in this class, so that's not going to be a worry either. I really do think Henderson is going to be the 1A in this backfield at some point. Look, unlike Chase Brown, Christian McCaffrey, Kenneth Walker, if he's healthy, he may not be going nuclear from week 1. It may take him half the season here, but eventually this year he's going to go nuclear, and you're going to want this guy on your fantasy team. And even those weeks early in the season, if he's not going nuclear, he's going to be out there on passing downs. He's going to be getting enough run. He's still going to be helping your fantasy team. And it's not like this guy, again, like Chase Brown. He's not some little scat back. Remember his freshman year, he had 184 carries and averaged 6.8 yards per carry. They just didn't need him to handle a big workload in college because they had other guys like Quinshon Judkins. He can absolutely be a guy that can get 15 carries a game, catch 3, 4, 5 passes a game, and any one of those carries or passes can go for a home run. TreVeyon Henderson, yes, he's climbing up draft boards, but I still think this is a guy you got to try to get if you can. He's going to go nuclear, maybe not in the first half, but definitely in the second half. Then finally going to end with DeAndre Swift. If we had any doubts about, the Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, like how would they work together? How would this offense be? They kind of got put to rest in preseason week 2 because that offense looked fantastic against the Bills defense. Now I know the Bills defense didn't play all their starters to start the game, but they played some of them. And I know it's preseason. We don't want to overreact here, but man, Caleb Williams looked so much more comfortable, so much better there. Now DeAndre Swift did not play in that game, so I can't sit here and tell you how good DeAndre Swift looked or didn't look. But I do know this. He's going to be the guy in this backfield because who else is there? Rashawn Johnson, who sounds like he's not even number 2 on the depth chart, and 7th round rookie Kyle Monangai. This is going to be Swift's backfield. Last year, he was 10th in snap share among all running backs, 7th in opportunities, 10th in carries, and 15th in targets. Yet he had quite possibly his worst season ever, averaging just 3.8 yards per carry and scoring only 6 touchdowns. But I mean, look, the Bears were a dumpster fire. The offense was a dumpster fire. The offensive line was a dumpster fire. But it seems like both of those things have got fixed. In fact, the offensive line, Pro Football Focus has already said this is the most improved offensive line in football. They currently have them ranked 4th going into the 2025 season. And even if we don't get everything we got from the Bears offense in that preseason game because, real defenses are not quite that good, I think we're going to see a much improved offense here with Ben Johnson, with Caleb Williams. Again, it wasn't just the numbers. Like, Caleb Williams didn't throw for 300 yards or anything crazy. It was how good he looked in the pocket, how comfortable he looked in the pocket, how good the schemes were for his wide receivers in that game. I really think this entire offense is going to be much better this year, and by extension, that means DeAndre Swift is going to be much better this year. And let's not forget, the last time he played with Ben Johnson in Detroit back in 2022, he averaged 5.5 yards per carry and was the running back 15 on the season, despite only getting 99 carries because he was getting vultured by Jamal Williams every single week. There's nobody here that's going to vulture him like Jamal Williams. He's easily the best running back in this room. Now he's playing behind a way better offensive line and what's going to be a way better offense with a head coach who knows him and likes him. I think DeAndre Swift is primed to have a big year, go absolutely nuclear in fantasy football this year. This is a guy I'm absolutely targeting in round 7, round 8 of my fantasy drafts every single time because I really think DeAndre Swift is going to have league-winning upside this year, and he's going to be one of those guys you got to have on your fantasy team. Get him before one of your league mates do, before he goes nuclear on somebody else's team. And you also got to watch the videos we got for you to help you prep for your fantasy drafts this year. Everything you need, you can find it in our 2025 playlist. It's right here.